Hey, how's it going? So we're going to be doing this one today. I'll show you how it works. Now, um, examples in here are a little bit too complicated for no reason. I don't understand like why they're using switch map, for example, or catch error. Well, catch error, I kind of get it, but you have a built-in error handling capabilities. Okay, so first of all, what is an effect? Effect is basically, based on my understanding, it's a way to manage asynchronous and observables, because asynchronous and observables, they function slightly different to standard values, because standard values, they get passed instantly, whereas this thing, it's kind of it creates a stream and then it passes them one by one, so it's a little bit different, right? Okay, so what we do is we create a let's do test. We need to create a function, okay, which is called um, which will be using an effect. So we're going to do this dot effect. Here we want to put any name. Now this is going to be an observable, right? So the way you know it's an observable, because there is a thingy, right? Like dollar sign. And you can put any, or you can assign type if you want, right? So the next thing you do in here is you need to return your argument, and then you need to pipe. So now we have the pipe going, and this is standard Angular script now. Okay, so basically, when you're going to be calling this function, you're going to be putting a kind of like, imagine there is invisible argument, and this invisible argument that you're going to pass will be this argument here. And this is going to be, is now turned into an observable. So now you can treat it standard as an Angular. All right, so we can do, let's just do tap. That's the easiest. Import, we have tap from, whoops, RxJS, I think, like this. Okay, you know what I need to do? I need to set up a automatic import. Let me just make a reminder, 1 second. All right, so I'm back. So in tap, let's do tap. Now this is kind of standard Angular stuff, right? And we can just console log it, right? Let's just console log it, and that's it. You can do it this way, or you can do it a or whatever value, and then console log value. But I mean, it's easier to just console log it like this. So okay, so now how do we pass a value inside of this thing? So the first thing we need to do, we need to import our store into a component, right? So that's our store, it's in here. Make sure the provider is in here. And then we want to inject it into the constructor. I don't know what that is. We can just remove this. Okay, so now we are ready to use this thing here. And the way to do it is very simple. You do this, whatever you put the name for the store. I called it store name. You can call it shake and bake if you want. And it's part of user store, you see. You can probably call this user store, but I call it store name just for specifically for you to put any name you want. Now we want to use the function, which is test effect. And in here we can put any variable. So let's just put did this work. Okay. So now did this work? This thing here is gonna become this thing here. And remember, it's going to be converted into an observable automatically. All right, so now if you go to a console log, you see that it worked. All right. Now, the purpose of all of this mumbo jumbo is, say you have a state that you want to update, and in here, this is where you can update your state. You can use tap, catch error, switch map methods, whatever you want. But in here, the value, the main thing is that the value is being passed from here to here. And then you can just update your state based on the values that are flowing in. Does that make sense? Like, I'm just covering this part because once you understand how values are flowing, I'm assuming you have enough knowledge to know what to do with them. Does that make sense? So I'm just explaining how values are being passed. Now, if you want to have an observable example, so let's call it observable for test effect. And we're gonna put this little thingy so you know it's observable, right? And let's just do a standard one. I'm not gonna do anything special. So we're gonna import off. So off is the way you convert a standard variable into an observable. From, it's gonna be RxJS, I think, right? Yeah. So now we just do off, and we do 1, 2, 3, okay? So what this will do, this will pass the values 1, 2, 3, one by one in here. And because we're console logging it, we'll be able to see it, okay? So now we're passing this thing into our function as an argument. So now this simulates, this can be a fetch request, for example, because they're asynchronous. And observables are also asynchronous, right? So this, technically there is a delay and it passes like a stream of values, 1, 2, 3, one by one, okay? And of course, they are being passed one by one, and this thing just console logs them. Remember that this is now technically 1, 2, 3, okay? So if we console log it, we can see that this is 1, 2, 3 now, okay? Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Now, we're gonna create a error, kind of like a mock error, all right? So for us to create an error, we kind of need to take observable, pipe it. We need to import tap. Again, we're gonna do tap. So tap is like a map method. It's honestly identical to tap method, only it doesn't, it's like a map method basically, right? So it's just called tap. Now there's also a map method, but I mean, tap is just so similar to map, so just, I'm assuming you know the difference between them, right? So tap, we're gonna do whatever the value name is. I normally just type value, honestly, right? And then we're gonna create if value equals 2, right? We are going to throw new error. Oh my god, it's an error, right? Else, okay, else return value. So what's happening here, right? It's going to go through one, right? So it's passing values, and then when the value is equal to, let's actually make it 3. It'll be easier to see. So it passes 1, it passes 2, it sees 3, and it returns an error, right? So this, again, is going to go into here. So 1, 2, and then error is going to be passed. And then in here, it's going to console log the error. So do you see? 1, 2, 3, and now the error is being console logged. So if you want to treat the error in certain way, there is a method of doing it. 1 second. Hey, how's it going? So basically, um, um, you can do it this way, right? You can do it this way, or you can also, so this is like console log tab, right? You can do it this way, you can do it also this way. Next, correct, console log correct, and then error, console, whoops, code wrong, console log wrong. Now this is method kind of useless, honestly, because it's not triggering on error for some reason, right? Because if you write, for example, blah, it will not trigger, even though there is an error. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Let me try another one. There is a method called, now this is not super high priority, so I'm not gonna really spend too much time on this. So I'll try one more method, and then it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to basically run a different function when there is an error. Normally, the way you do that is you just use like this, import catch error from RxJS operators, I think, like this, right? So this should go, let me just pause 1 sec, I'll be back. Yeah, this didn't help, so I tried to import them correctly, not from RxJS, but from Rx operators. So this is the correct way to import them, I think, right? So it didn't work because so I was trying to basically do, if there is an error, just console log error found, right? But it's not working because I don't know how to subscribe to this thing, right? Because this is technically an observable after pipe. Technically, if you just subscribe to it, this normally does the job. But the problem in here is you cannot do that in this state management thing, you see? It just crashes the system, right? So we cannot do this. Then I try to subscribe in here as well. It also does not work. Like if you just do subscribe, you see it. Um, you see, it doesn't want to even subscribe to this, because if you try to subscribe, if you try to force it, it will tell you subscribe method does not exist. Anyway, I'll try one more. I'll try this one here. I'm literally just gonna copy and paste this thing. So what they're doing is, right, they're doing is, if there is an error, if there is correct, run add movie. So add movie is basically a method from right. So it's in here, I think, add movie. Yeah, add movie, see? So when everything is correct, it runs add movie. It runs adds movie and it updates the state. I tested this, it works, right? Now the problem is, what do you do if there is an error? I want to see how can you log the error. That's what I want to do. The problem I'm having is that it's not catching the error correctly. Maybe it's the way I handle the error on my side. You see, like I'm new to Angular, so normally there is a try error in JavaScript, because I come from React. There is try. You know, if try doesn't work, there is an error. It automatically pops you into the catch error function. In there, it's very straightforward to do. Whereas in here, it's a bit, with these pipe methods, it's a bit confusing, honestly. Okay, so we are going to change this to this. So we're gonna call this correct. And we need to import tap as well, right? So tap, I think it comes from here. Tap response, yeah, there you go. So this is correct. So when it's correct, we are going to run correct function. All right, so we're going to just console log correct. Okay, and then error function, we're gonna console log error. See what happens, right? Just see what happens. This correct function. Just do this, and then if there is an error, we want to do error function like this. So let's see what happens. Yeah, again, you see exactly the same problem. Exactly the same problem. You see, on correct, it runs. Do you see? So when it's correct, it simply runs the function. Okay, so again, like I tested before, you can update your states in here, whatever you want, right? But when there is an error, you see this here is not triggering for some reason. Maybe it's because it's catch error. I should try to remove this. No, you see, again, it's the same problem. Like my error handling overall, because it's so simple, like my error handling in JavaScript was like just basically try catch method, honestly. So I don't have a super in-depth skill of error handling. This could be the problem. But overall kind of you can use it, right? You can use it, the dot effect thing, because I mean the purpose of this video was just to create dot effect. So we're just gonna remove this. We're gonna probably remove this. Oh, whoops. Yeah, you see, it's not complaining. It needs 2 arguments. And we're just gonna console log error. So console log error. Now, honestly, this doesn't do anything, but I mean, maybe console main, see if it triggers. Console warn. My apologies. Yeah, you see, it's not even triggering. Because normally console warm is yellow, and this is red. Okie dokes. Anyway, so that's the end of the video. Bottom line, dot effect is basically a function that intakes an argument, all right? And to create it, what you do is this effect, argument, so anything you want, and this argument is gonna be automatically an observable. Then you're gonna return this argument, which is an observable, and you're gonna pipe it. And then that's it. And inside the pipe, this is where you run your state updates, all right? So right now, I can only do on correct, on error. Give me some time and I'll be able to do that as well, right? So, but I mean, the purpose of the video is just to show you how to run that effect, okay? And yeah, that's about it. Take care.